Hello, and welcome to a very moving episode of We Only Look Thin. I am one of your hosts, Donald Weigel, and I have lost a little over 100 pounds, and I'm here to tell you about it. And with me, as always, is...
Catherine Weigel. And I'm moving. I'm moving my head right now.
Whoa.
There's so many ways to move.
It's like this podcast is in stereo.
It is. Is it? I guess it is.
No.
Hi, and I'm Catherine Weigel, and I've lost about 150 pounds. And
wow!
I know. It still surprises me. And we'll talk about that.
I'm shocked every time you say it.
I know. Well, it seemed like after a while, it's like, I did that before, but what am I doing now?
Yeah.
We'll talk about moving it and losing it and not losing it if you don't move it.
Yeah. Because we're jokesters and punsters and we like the wordplay.
We're funny.
I said this was a moving episode. You probably thought I was talking about like emotions and how it was going to move you to tears and move you to laugh and joy. It probably will do those things.
I feel like a lot of people it's like they don't listen to hear, they listen to fill in the blanks, and they're like, oh, whoa, a moving episode. They're probably going to talk about the movie Stepmother or something. And
yeah.
No, but this is emotionless.
Or maybe we're going to talk about moving furniture.
Maybe. That is a thing to do.
That could be a thing we could talk about.
It could be a thing to do. So, but
we're going to talk about movement.
We are going to talk about movement. We have a lot to talk about movement.
Yeah, we should. We shouldn't probably tell a 14-minute story about me drinking coffee.
No, sorry about that, everybody.
I thought it was funny, that story.
I just didn't know our episode was going to be that long. I would have tightened it up a little bit. I would have tightened the setup
let's just warn everybody, like, buckle up, because this is going to be another full, probably hour-ish episode.
Yeah, and we're not. There's no. Well, this is all tips. This is like a tip episode.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to talk about some products, but we're not going to say pow and tow. You don't get that in this episode.
No.
Sorry.
Pow, everyone.
I'm not doing it. I just said we weren't doing it.
Top of the show to you.
No. Let's just get moving.
Oh, we're not doing that?
No.
We're just get moving. So this is the third in our 3-part series about getting started.
The third episode.
So we are very slyly and selfishly doing a 3-part series about getting started because people ask us all the time, where do I start? And rather than bombarding you with 4,000 things all at once, we thought we would break it up.
Bombard you with 1,500 things all at once.
Right. We are bombarding you, make no mistake. We're bombarding you in your ears. And we thought that we would come up with a 3-parter, and the first part was about how weight loss is mostly a mental game. Second part was about eating and how to get started. If you're completely lost, what do you do? This one is about movement. And we're intentionally not saying it's the exercise episode because then
we could have called it the exorcism.
Oh, maybe we still will.
Maybe we will. But yeah, I think, are going to start out by talking a lot about sort of the misconceptions about how to move and what we have been told by society.
Yeah.
Darn society. And then we're going to talk about making it practical for you.
Yeah. And I just said this is not the mental episode, but it's all the mental episode. Spoiler alert. So even exercise, which is about moving, is largely a mental game. I really believe this whole thing, it's 70% mental and about 30% of what you actually do. But the 70% mental leads to your actions. And there are, in particular with exercise, there are myths that I would like to dispel. And I have a series of them. And the first one is that exercise has to be vigorous. That is myth number 1. It's all exercise. Every movement that you do counts. Every step you take, every time you get up out of your chair.
I thought you were going to do like a Sting situation.
Every
leave you rake.
Take, every move you make, every snake you fake, I'll be watching you.
Yeah.
But it all counts as exercise, and it all burns calories, every bit of it.
Well, and I think too, we often, I know in the last episode we talked about food and calories, and it has been said that you can't outrun a fork. And movement is about...
That's on my list a little later. You spoiled
I stepped
it.
on your fork.
Yeah.
Movement is about how you feel and how you embrace your actual three-dimensional life.
Yeah.
Food is where the calories come from, and how you burn them is very important. And your point number 2 is...
Myth number 2 is that exercise has to be painful.
Oh, no, it does not.
It does not.
Spoiler.
We're told this over and over again. It's beaten into us that no pain, no gain. No pain, no gain. And I spent many, many years on exercises that I absolutely hated. I hated doing things. And eventually, guess what? I stopped doing them because I hated it.
Well, and people, too, tell us, you've got to do X amount a day. Like, if you're not doing X, it doesn't count. And it all counts. I know Donald just sort of said that. But I think we get discouraged because we think whatever age we are, it's not enough. And we're going to talk about it being enough and you being enough.
Absolutely. And I firmly believe that if you are doing exercises that you hate, eventually you will quit doing them. And part of my success, and it's even difficult for me to say that, has been discovering that I could do things that I don't hate. My primary mode of exercise this entire time of losing the weight, maintaining the weight, is just walking. It's just getting more steps. And I don't hate it. And I actually really like it. And it's become a part of my life and something that I really enjoy doing. And if I never do another squat or burpee or, I will be happy. And so I just don't do them. And maybe I'm not going to become an Olympic athlete this way, but I think I probably wasn't going to anyway. Myth number 3, you have to go to a gym or work out with a personal trainer in order to have exercise success. And Catherine, ask me how many times in the last 3 years have I gone to a gym?
Donald, how many times have you gone into a gym in the last 3 years?
0.
What?
How many times have I worked out with a personal trainer in the last 3 years?
How many? Am I asking you or are you telling me?
I guess. I don't know.
How many? Okay, none. Times.
How many times have you worked out with a personal trainer in the last 3 years?
None times.
Yeah. So you don't have to. We have done exercises on our own, mostly walking, that don't require those things. It doesn't require an expensive gym membership. It doesn't require an expensive trainer. It doesn't require even...
You don't have to pay for anything.
Yeah,
it's free.
None of those
and
things.
And that ties into Donald's next point, which is you don't have to buy weights or resistance bands or machines or really anything to be fit.
Yeah, we have our own 2 feet. And we use them to walk, and I've added only really in the last, little over a year or so have I added some strength training, and it's all things that I can do without any machines, any weights, any gadgets. I do strength training at home, I do push-ups, I do planks and things like that, and I walk, and I track my steps, and I get them, and that is all the exercise I've done.
And another myth is that you can exercise yourself thin. And I stepped on Donald's fork before with the joke that you cannot outrun a fork.
Just think of it like someone stepping on a rake, like in an old silent movie. It's hilarious.
There are plenty of people who say, like, oh, I've been going to the gym every day and I've been doing 60-minute workouts and I'm sweating and I'm up on the scale. What do I do? Ultimately, what you eat matters more to losing weight.
Yeah, I truly believe that. Like, movement is important. Burning calories is certainly very important. But what you eat, like, you cannot outrun a fork. You can't exercise faster than you can eat.
Now I can eat all the time.
Certainly I can't. I can binge the heck out of it when I have the chance.
And he has.
And I have.
So you can't, what is it? They say that you lose weight in the kitchen and you get fit with your feet fit?
Something
like that.
Sure.
Anyway.
That sounds like something people say. Exactly. So the final myth on my list is that that the fastest way and the easiest way is the best way. And this is another thing that we're told for our whole lives, and that is burned into us, that, walking the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. The closest parking space is a win. Yeah, efficiency. Like finding the closest parking space is considered a win. Guess what? It's not a win. You're not getting...
You're losing.
You're not burning calories when you're parking in the closest spot. You're not burning calories when you're taking an elevator 1 floor up. You are doing that when you walk up 1 floor, when you get a farther parking space and you then have to walk, when you take the long way to the kitchen or the bathroom. Those are all ways in which you are winning because you're burning calories while you're doing it.
Yeah, and we're going to give you more tips and tricks later to add movement into your everyday life. Do you know all of us have 24 hours? All of us do.
What?
It's true.
I get 24 hours like you
do?
You
get 24 hours, and you get 24 hours. Sorry, I'm doing a little Oprah there. So we have done episodes before where we talk about movement and where we talk about myths, but this is kind of, like Donald said, sort of the capstone part 3 of our How to Get Started episode. And I think thinking about, and this is where I'm going to jump in or walk in, whatever's right for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever's right for me, is to really consider, after we let go of all of the myths and other people telling us the only right way to do something. If you're not doing cardio, if you're not getting whatever number of minutes a day, letting all of that go and really starting with the man in the mirror.
Yeah. Or woman in the mirror.
Or the they
This
in the mirror.
This is 2019. Women can look in mirrors too,
And so can gender fluid people. So
absolutely.
They, he, she, look in the mirror. And, and I know I'm joking, but start where you are. And start by asking yourself, what is hard for me right now? Like, I never considered that when I worked out with a personal trainer.
Yeah.
I never thought about it. I just looked externally like, oh, I got to join a gym. I got to work out with a trainer. I got to do a certain thing. But really, what is hard for you right now? I remember as simple as not wanting to walk out of work with people because they were going to take the stairs up in the parking lot and I didn't want to have to walk up the stairs.
Yeah.
If you're avoiding leaving work with other people because you don't want to walk up the stairs, maybe that's a place to start. Thinking about what are you avoiding on the weekends? Are people asking you if you want to go? And, in Los Angeles, we have Ciclavia, which is like a day where they shut down the streets and you can ride your bicycle. Are you avoiding going bicycle riding with your friends because you don't think you have enough endurance?
I still have a horrible residual fear of being embarrassed by not being able to keep up with other people, whether it's just walking normally, walking upstairs, riding a bicycle, going on a hike. Like, I am terrified of it still, even though I know that I'm relatively fit at this point and can do those things. It's hard for me to get over that fear. And I would avoid those activities like the plague just, because I didn't want to be embarrassed.
Right. How, are you avoiding doing certain excursions in the summertime because you know that there's going to be a lot of walking? I know we had gone to Italy, name dropping countries, a bunch of years ago.
Have you heard of Italy?
Have you heard of Italy? We went to Florence, and there is the Duomo, which is a beautiful church, and there's this walk up to the top.
Yeah, I want to say it's over 400 steps. I might be exaggerating.
Over 400 steps. And if you're avoiding going to majestic peaks of churches or of up hills to see beautiful vistas because you don't want to walk them, if you don't want to go to Disneyland because you're afraid of all the walking you'll have to do with a big crowd of people.
Yeah. If you're avoiding getting into free solo climbing. No, I'm kidding.
You know how it is.
You know how it is. You're embarrassed to try and climb.
Going to the jump around trampoline parks with kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you're like, oh no, I don't want to, we're not going to go to that.
Maybe you're even just embarrassed to dance at a wedding or something because you don't want to get winded. That was me for sure.
Oh, definitely. And not going into the pool in the summertime. And maybe that's that's a more of a physical
partially
thing
fear of taking my shirt off, but yeah, but still.
But even if it's like if you lose your breath, like getting out of a car, or you don't want to get off the couch, or you don't want to play with your friend's dog or your grandkids because you can't get up off the floor. Like, what things in your life are you avoiding? Do you not want to go up a second flight of stairs? Do you not want to bring groceries upstairs? Like, just think about those practical ways that your life is being inhibited by your weight. I used to hate getting out of bed because my feet would hurt. And I thought that was just the way life was at 28. You know, when you're 28.
When you're 28, your body just hurts so much. You don't want to get out of bed.
In ancient Egypt, the lower class people died in their 30s because of how hard they worked.
Those were the good old days.
Good old
Must
days.
be nice.
If I was in ancient Egypt, 28 would have been the perfect age to have to forklift myself out of bed.
Exactly.
So all of those different things, standing up, going on a walk with friends, wanting to, not go browsing around a new city or walking around a new city, doing a ghost tour because you don't want to walk anywhere. That was the life I used to live. Like Donald said, the shortest distance between 2 points.
Yeah.
Hiding from people so I didn't have to walk up a flight of stairs with them and take the elevator instead. Think about where you are today and what are you ready to change? If you are going on, a vacation this summer that's going to require a lot of walking, maybe starting walking a little bit more.
I like that idea.
If you're avoiding the parking garage at work, start doing a flight of stairs. Like, we're not talking about doing, a PX90 whatever workout. We're talking about starting where you are. So we're going to get more into that. But there are so many things that we used to avoid in life because we were afraid of being out of breath, because we were afraid of looking foolish. So we want to knock that down. We're going to knock down barriers, aren't we, Donald?
Yes, we are. And I think the foundation is find something that you don't hate to do. For me, that has been walking. For you, it might be, shooting hoops for basketball. It might be dancing. It might be a Zumba class. It might be spinning. But the point is, find something that you actually enjoy doing, because you're more likely to keep doing it.
Well, and to build up to that, I think I listen a lot to the Gretchen Rubin Happier podcast, and she does a lot of great work on finding
our good buddy Gretchen.
Our good friend Gretchen Rubin. She does a lot of finding out about what kind of person you are, and I think so many of us don't even think about what kind of people we are because we're too busy avoiding people to go upstairs at work.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so busy just trying to stay out of the way that I don't even think about the kinds of things we like, because all of those old stories about you got to join the gym, you got to take a CrossFit class, you've got to, the only way to do it is if you do spinning. That's the best way. We don't even think about what we like to do or the kind of people that we are. So I have some questions to ask you, our listening audience, and even you, Donald. Maybe you can actually answer some of the questions.
All right, let's see.
So really think about this. Do you prefer to work out solo or in a group or with an accountability buddy?
I prefer to walk with you.
So that is me.
That's just you. Yeah, I either prefer to be alone or with one other person, and that one other person is you.
Right. So do you prefer to be solo, or are you motivated by being in a group? Some people really like group activities.
You might prefer a class in which, you've got the social element, in which you've got other people to rely on to keep you on track. That might be more your thing. So think about, what is more appealing to you.
Well, and there is no one right answer. There are going to be people who say, like, oh, what you got to do is, join take a class with a bunch of people, or you got to join a running club. And that doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah, we like to say all the time, we'd like to, Catherine actually mentioned this morning, which I really love, is like, we are kind of a Unitarian podcast for weight loss. Like, if it works for you, then great. We'll tell you what we prefer and what we like to do. And, you can try it, and if it works for you, great. But if there's something else that works for you that's in the same ballpark, then do that.
Yeah. And that idea of doing a group, if you have a friend who's like, oh, take a Zumba class with me, if that sounds like fresh hell to you, don't do it.
Catherine recently said she's been wanting to take a Zumba class for a long time, and I was like, you have fun with that, because that is not my idea.
But I have not yet done it.
Yeah.
But so do you prefer solo, a partner, or a group? Here's another question. Do you need external accountability? Do you need someone else telling you to do something? Donald, do you?
No, I think that's bad for me.
So that comes into, do you need a fitness coach? Or are you self-motivated? Does it make you more self-conscious? The idea of
I just don't like people telling me what to do.
Well, that's the thing. So maybe getting a personal trainer is not for you.
Yeah. I had one for like a year, and I had good results in air quotes from it, but I hated it. Like, I really hated it.
I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it. But that might also just mean finding the right fit, the right person, because I don't think that person was the right fit for me. So do you need a coach, or are you self-motivated?
I think the kind of coach I want is the kind where it's like maybe a podcast where there's like a couple that are like super charming and funny.
Oh, and inspiring.
And they've actually used to weigh a lot more, and they actually lost the weight. Is anybody
Richard Simmons?
What do you know of anything like
no,
this
I don't.
that we could?
Okay. If you know, let us know. Okay, here's
You've
another
got a
question.
podcast you can recommend. We want to hear about it.
Here's a question, and it ties into Donald's myths. Do you like going to a gym, or do you like maybe just being at home?
No, I like being at home. And yeah. I thought for a long time I liked being in a gym, but I think what I thought was that I could only really count it as exercise if I went to a gym.
Well, right. And I had a gym right across the street from my office for years, and I hated going.
Yeah.
And I felt like, I thought going meant I would lose weight. It was sort of outrunning a fork because there was a Cheesecake Factory right downstairs. So do you like going to a gym? If you don't like the gym, don't go to a gym.
Yeah, maybe the gym is your thing, and
maybe
if it
is your thing.
Fantastic.
Good for you.
Good on you.
But I think we have to have a class or a gym or a CrossFit or something to go to in order to lose weight. Guess what? You don't have to do that. Here's another one. Are you a morning worker-outer, a noon worker-outer, or a night worker-outer?
Well, since walking is kind of my thing, it's sort of an all-day thing. However, I'm more of a morning worker-outer. I much prefer, especially in my ripe old age of almost 50, to do it in the morning. I like to do the bulk of my walking earlier rather than later.
Yeah, and there is no right answer.
No, maybe you're a lunchtime person. Maybe you're a nighttime. Maybe you really want to work out right before bed. If that's you, then do it. But there is no one right time of day except for the time that you prefer.
Yeah, and that might change depending on the season too. Whether you, if you're a teacher, maybe summers are easier for you, and maybe you're a noontime person. If you don't want to do any workout, if you don't want to do anything, that's okay. It's fine. Don't do it. But I have found that mornings are great for me because it just gets the hard part out of the way first. But if you are a night person, be a night person.
Yeah.
Make it work for you. I think the thing that I have changed, and this gets into the mindset, is there are people who still say I can't work out in the morning. I'm not a morning person. And instead of just doing the 4-letter word, I can't, I'm like, well, what can you do? What are you ready to do?
Yeah.
When Donald started in this last time journey, he said, I work, he said very nicely and definitely without any spite.
No.
I can't work out during the week. I work so much. And then I said, well, why don't you just do it on the weekend then? And he got very annoyed. What's it going to do?
Yeah, what's that going to do? Just doing it on the weekend. And
guess what?
Nothing. I managed to figure out a way to work exercise. And in this case, movement, not necessarily exercise in the traditional sense, into my life. And I now am able to most days get 20,000 steps a day. And when I started, I was happy just to get 5. And that's where I was with my life. I was sitting so much. And now I've figured out ways to get that movement in. Do I hit that every day? No, I definitely don't. Yesterday I did not hit that, but today I'm well on my way.
So those are sort of the things just off the top of my head that I wrote down earlier, about sort of figuring out what kind of person you are. Are you a group person? Are you a day person? Are you a night person? Whatever. And what kind of movement do you like? And are there things that maybe seem appealing to you that you haven't tried yet? That it might just be something like, I don't like going to a gym, but I really like walking in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what? When I was a kid, I really loved swimming. Maybe you could try swimming. Maybe you could try dancing. Like you said, do you love watching Dancing with the Stars or Solid Gold? Or
maybe you want to do softball. Maybe you want to, do basketball.
You could try a Pilates class. You could try a Zumba class. You could try CrossFit, walking, yoga,
ultimate frisbee.
Yes.
Like seriously, like think out of the box. Think about something that might be fun. Paintball might be fun for you, which would be exercise.
Yeah. Or you could try boxing, or you could try none of them. It's all fine. And it doesn't mean that you're broken. It just means, and maybe, it might also depend on where you are in your journey. There are things that that I'm thinking about trying now that I wouldn't have done 100 pounds ago.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, and another big thing that I think is really important, and it ties into mindset. We tricked you with your mind being important in this.
Yes, we
is
tricked
thinking
you.
of those 4-letter can't phrases. I can't afford a gym. I can't work out in the morning.
Yeah.
I can't leave my desk. I can't leave the kids. I can't. Can't. I don't have time. I can't. I can't
think
afford
those
it.
were
I can't
all
do it.
things I told myself as an excuse because I actually didn't want to. I didn't want to have to do anything because it was work.
Yeah, or, I don't have time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the whatever. Like all of those can't phrases, and we still hear them now from people.
Yeah, and look, I know there are people out there who work a lot more hours than I do, but I average, 70 to 75 hours a week, somewhere in there of work every week, and I still have managed to lose 100 pounds, and I feel like, if I can work it in, then anybody can. And it was about telling myself that I couldn't do it instead of figuring out ways in which I could. And for me, it just started with Catherine saying, why don't you just take a 5-minute walk? And me saying, God, what's that going to do?
That's not going to do anything.
Yeah, you do the voice better than I do.
Sorry. I've had many years of practice. But it's so letting go of all of those negative, I can't, I'll never, I won't, I can't afford it, I'm too whatever. Figuring out becoming a person who figures out a way to make something work feels so much better and so much more empowering than just saying I can't. And as we said, it doesn't require spending money. It doesn't require a trainer. There are so many free resources, including your 2 feet and your 2 arms, to make it work. And so I think, I know for us, walking and adding purposeful movement in our day was kind of where we started.
Yeah, I had an app on my phone that counted steps, and I started kind of paying attention to it. But the real key for me was getting a Fitbit. And I started with a lesser model, and I have since graduated to an expensive one. That is a smartwatch, but really anything that counts your steps is a good thing. If you just want to use your phone to do it, and it's not really about it being completely accurate either. It's just about setting a benchmark that you want to hit or beat every day, and taking that and knowing that movement all counts. It all adds on top of each other. Like adding a 5-minute walk to your day every day that you weren't doing before is huge and eventually adds up and adds up. And, I started, and this is very much like the food thing where I counted my calories and figured out where I was and then slowly reduced them. I did the reverse with the walking. I figured out where I was, and I steadily increased those steps, and I steadily increased my goal. and eventually got up to where I am now, but it was very gentle. Like I started with something like 5,000 steps, and I was just happy to hit that. And it was really difficult to do when I first started. And then I went up to like 7,000 and 8 and 10 and 12 and 15. And now my daily step goal is 20,000 steps. And that may seem completely overwhelming to some people, but then there are other listeners out there like Nicole who are like,
we're looking at you, Nicole.
Baby stuff. I get 30,000 steps a day. But it is important and it worked. I was able to burn those calories and in combination with my eating, lose 100 pounds just walking.
Yeah. And when I started and got a Fitbit, I thought I was active. I work, 8 hours a day. We've got a child. I'm very busy. I always feel like I'm on the move.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on the go, go, go. But a lot of that go, go, go was me sitting at a computer staring at a screen because that was part of my job.
Right. And a typical day for me was drive our daughter the quarter mile to school, try to find the closest parking spot.
Yeah.
Go back, go to work, take the elevator, sit at my desk all day. I'm so valuable and important. I don't have time to stand up and go for a 5-minute walk. I don't have time to zigzag back and forth. I had a colleague who would run 5 miles in the morning. I don't have time for that. I mean, I stay up until 11 o'clock watching Seinfeld reruns. When am I going to find time to wake up an hour earlier?
Yeah.
There's no answer. Like,
right.
There's absolutely... Oh, wait. No, maybe just don't watch that episode of Seinfeld over again.
Yeah, and we have this Rite Aid shopping center that is, 2 blocks away?
It's about literally, it's 750 steps to the Starbucks.
Yeah, 750 steps to the Starbucks.
Which is farther away than the Rite Aid.
And I used to get in the car and drive there when I needed toothpaste or something from the Rite Aid, Advil, whatever. I used to get in the car and drive there. And it probably took longer for me to get in the car, pull into traffic, find a parking spot, walk into the Rite Aid than it does just to walk up there. And brings me to one of the, again, it's all a mental game, but one of the things, no matter what movement you decide to do, incorporate this idea into your life that ask yourself, what is the second easiest / most efficient thing I can do? The easiest, most efficient thing is to find the closest parking spot in the parking lot. Well, the second easiest thing to do is find one that's a little farther away, that gets me more steps, that burns more calories. The easiest thing to do is get in the elevator and go up one floor. Well, the second easiest thing to do is walk up that one flight. And ask yourself, what is the second shortest route I can take to get to the kitchen? What's the second shortest route I can take to get to the bathroom? And start incorporating that into your life every single day.
I used to, our little shopping plaza is not very big.
No.
It's not very big. I used to park at the Rite Aid.
Yeah.
Find the closest spot and then get back in the car and then drive the 80 feet to the Starbucks to go in, because I didn't want to walk all the way.
Oh, you didn't want to walk all the way to Starbucks and then walk back to the car.
And think about all the ways that you get in your own way of getting in a little bit more movement. Like that, I love that idea of that. The second best way is to just walk to the Starbucks rather than reparking. Like that.
This happened to me yesterday, and I know I'm going to sound like an arrogant jerk baloney at this point, but
we're a family show.
But I had to go to a production meeting for my job that was across the Paramount Studios lot. And somebody else in the meeting, I'm not going to identify who they were. We had a second meeting, which was back across the lot after the meeting that we finished. And I was offered a ride in the golf cart to the meeting. Which is
super fun.
And I said, no, that's okay. I'll just walk. And I walked across and I actually beat them. By the time they went to the golf cart, got in, started it up, and took the circuitous route to the next meeting spot, which was across the lot, I actually managed to walk there ahead of them and get there first. And not only did I beat them there, but I got exercise and I burned calories while I was doing it. And they sat in a golf cart, and that didn't happen.
Did you have to have a gym membership?
I did not.
See?
and look, I know I sound very arrogant right now when I'm talking
like
about this.
Like a jerk baloney.
But really, part of the reward of doing all of this is the smug satisfaction that I get from taking the stairs and beating somebody up when they get in the elevator or walking across
Not actually
the lot.
Beating them up, but...
Oh, yeah, just getting there first.
Yeah, he beats people up.
And it really makes me feel good about myself, and I know that is revealing me to be a baloney of jerkiness. Yes.
Speaking of baloney and where you buy it.
Oh yeah.
Another thing that I do is going to a grocery store. I used to try to make it as efficient as possible.
Oh yeah.
But we're going to dare you to make it as least efficient as possible, or second more efficient. I leave the shopping cart in one place and I zigzag back and forth and bring my groceries to the cart instead of taking it with me. And I don't need to go to a gym for 30 minutes. I just get in steps throughout my day.
Yeah.
I take the long route. We'll take a trash can. If I'm taking the trash out, I will take one trash can out at a time. If I'm collecting dishes from the house, from the bedrooms, I take one at a time.
Yeah,
and
if you're
go
trying
back.
to straighten up clutter around, like take one item at a time. And okay, this it takes more time, but it also burns more calories. Like one thing I do is I'm a big condiment person when I'm eating, and I will get like ketchup, mustard, and hot sauce out.
That's 3 trips.
It's 3 trips. I will get them out one at a time. I will return them one at a time. It's more steps and it burns more calories. And we've got an entire episode. It's episode number 4 of this show called the Stepisode, which is all about getting more steps and tracking them on your Fitbit. And we go way more into detail in that. But these are all tips that I have used to lose this 100 pounds.
Yeah. And I think we used to think that movement it needed to be specific. It needed to raise your heart rate a lot. It had to be at a gym. And finding ways to sneak in movement that is meaningful to you into your life. If that's 1 time a week, fantastic. If that's for 10 minutes, that's amazing. We actually, I think we've talked about trying to get him on the show, but there's a man that we did, we spoke at a fitness convention last year, a man named Lee Jordan, who I think weighed 500 pounds.
It was something like that, yeah.
And he lost the weight, but he started by literally standing up from the couch, walking to the other end of the room, which for him might as well have been a mile.
Yeah, and just touching the wall
and
walk back to the couch. But, get the idea in your head that this is purposeful movement, that I am doing this. This is exercise. And it becomes a habit. And, you start by walking across the room, and then you walk out to the mailbox, and then eventually maybe you walk to the corner, but you don't need to do this all at once. You don't need to jump in. We have another episode of this show, episode 47, called Coming in Hot. And one of the mistakes people make all the time is they feel like, they go to the booty barn and they do leg day and they can't even walk the next day. And it becomes so painful that they stop because they don't want to keep going with that.
Well, and I've done that too, where I'll get, the PX90 workout or the 20 days to perfect glute, whatever. And you go eye of the tiger, super hardcore. You do everything that it says to do. And you're like, first day, you're like, this is amazing. And then the next day you cannot walk.
Right.
You can't even, and I'm going to say it, you go to the restroom, you can't even sit down because your legs hurt so much. You just have to like let your muscles go and then drop down. I have actually done that before.
Yeah.
We live on a second floor.
Very appealing.
We live on the second floor, and walking downstairs after a day like that is painful. And then you get discouraged because you can't do the next training session, or you can't go to the next HIIT class or whatever. And so you stop going because you're in too much pain. We're saying easy does it is what we're saying.
Slow and steady wins the race. That is one of those old platitudes that is true in this case.
Well, and I think too, if you're the kind of person who's going to take a class or do a video or follow a 30-day plan, give it like 20% the first time you go. Do not go eye of the tiger. Do not come in hot. If you're taking a class, don't worry about leaving early. If you've got 10 minutes of a spin class in you, do the 10 minutes and walk out. There, no one's going to throw rotten garbage at you for listening to your needs and leaving early.
And don't worry about modifying exercises to make them so that you can do them. If you can't do a full-on push-up, do a knee push-up. If you can't do a knee push-up, do a half of one. Like, do what you can do. And we've said this before on other topics, but the idea is not to be perfect. Perfection is kind of the enemy of weight loss in a lot of ways. Like, because we get this idea in our head that if we can't be perfect, we shouldn't do it at all. But the key is actually to be consistent. It's to set a minimum that you are going to hit on a regular basis, whether that's every day or every other day or once a week, whatever it is, you set that minimum and then you make sure that you hit it. And if you find that whatever minimum you set is too hard, then step it back a little bit until it becomes easier for you to manage and control.
Well, and two, for me, I did a couple of years ago the Couch to 5K running program, and I had done it in the past. And I was trying to comply with the little robot timer that said what I needed to do. And when I would fall short of that, I would feel like a failure and I would stop.
Yeah.
And I repeated with the Couch to 5K. I think it's a 6-week program, and each week you do a different number of intervals and a different number of
sure, you can Google it.
Yeah, Google it. But I would try to comply, and when I didn't achieve what goal had set out, I would quit. And this time, and I did this with my food intake as well as my movement with the Couch to 5K, I repeated days over and over and over again until they became easy. And then I moved on to the next day. I repeated weeks over and over and over
Very smart of you.
But it took me from May until October to
It's gonna be May.
It's gonna be May. Oh, it is actually gonna be May.
It is actually gonna be May. Yeah, Justin Timberlake owns the month of May. Like, you've made
May.
it when you own a month.
Yeah. But the plan was supposed to take 6 weeks. It took me from May until October. You know what? I finished it, and it felt great to do it in my time, my way. The more consistent you can be and the more you can take back your movement and take back, it's going to take me that long to do it. It feels so much better to listen to what you need and do it your way than to try to comply with someone else's expectation. And there is no shame in leaving a class halfway through. There is no shame in cutting back. If a routine says it's a 30-minute, doing 10 minutes. If, you're watching a dance video and you can't do the whole dance, it's not a failure if you do the first minute and then don't finish. You can increase your performance over time, and it doesn't have to happen overnight.
And I lost weight while I was still getting 5,000 steps a day. Like, it happened. I was at the point where just getting even that many was more exercise than I was getting. And if you're there, just know that you can do it. I gently increased my step count as I was going along. And for the first 2 years, it took me 2 years to lose the weight. I didn't do anything except counting my steps. And it's only been since then that I added some strength training and, things like push-ups and planks I mentioned before. I wanted to point out a great website. I don't follow everything she does. Some of the things are a little too hardcore. Some of the exercises I hate, so that I don't do them. But there is a website called blogilates.com. And I believe her name is Chrissy Ho. And she has a lot of great exercises that are, there's a program for strength training that she does, which is a 30-day thing where you gently step up every day. You do like a slightly harder version of it. And I, to this day, do a modified version of it multiple times a week. And it's really helped me, but it's something that I've been able to do for free. It's something I can do at home. It uses my own body weight, and it's really given me good results.
Yeah, and that eliminating those barriers of saying I can't afford it, I don't have any equipment. What do I need? All you need is access to the interweb, which most people have, and you can find so many free resources on YouTube. There's also the Fitness Marshall.
Oh yeah, Marshall. He's
Fitness
great.
Marshall does videos that are follow along videos to really fun, easy songs. You can follow along there. There's also Walking with Leslie, which is another thing of like, it's inclement weather, I can't walk outside. There's Walking with Leslie videos where she does a 1 mile routine where you walk in place. There's Yoga with Adriene, which is another free resource.
Wow.
Where you can do yoga at home.
And it feels like you've
free.
got actual friends. Leslie and Adriene and the Fitness Marshall all feel like you're real friends.
But there are so many free resources, and finding the one that works for you and works for your lifestyle. And if you can take a class, if you have that freedom, amazing.
Yeah.
And you look like you want to say something or interject.
No. I just have a couple of more things. I was just trying to, we're actually already getting close to an hour long for this episode, but I did have a couple of other things.
Oh, I've got more to say.
Speaking of doing things inside, I used to think that if there was inclement weather that I couldn't get my steps in. I couldn't do my walking. And we tried like going to a mall and doing some walking, which was fine, but it wasn't ideal. They were playing music I didn't like. There were temptations with the food court and all of that. But if it's your thing, then great. But we discovered, and I think it was Catherine that discovered, these little mini trampolines called rebounders. And they have become a staple of our fitness routine, and it allows us, without having a big giant machine in the place because we don't have a lot of room, to have these little mini trampolines. And when the weather is cold outside or raining or whatever, we can still get our steps, and we get the benefit of being able to binge watch TV while we do it, which is nice.
Yeah, finding ways. I mean, there are so many resources that being in accountability groups has really helped me. Joni, our friend and accountability buddy, actually
had a
rebounder. And then we got one, and it's amazing. It's wonderful. And being a person who investigates and finds answers to problems instead of saying, I don't have time, I can't afford it, I can't leave the kids, I can't, work out during work days. If you fill your life with can't, you're going to get nothing.
Yeah.
And you're going to live up to that expectation.
If you tell yourself you can't do something, then you won't do it.
You're right.
Because you'll want to be right.
Yeah. And so finding these free exercises, these free programs, is an amazing way to make it work. And not being a victim of a full-time job, parenthood, volunteer opportunities, sitting all the time, sitting on the sidelines. Oh, well, I can't work out because I've got my kid's soccer game. Guess what? Stand up and pace the field.
Yeah.
Like finding those ways, and even, asking people, like looking at the situation you're in, how can I gamify this? How can I exercise?
Yeah, with my Fitbit, I have a minimum set. It allows you to set a minimum of getting 250 steps an hour during a certain portion of the day. So from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day, I have to get at least 250 steps in an hour. And if I don't, I get a reminder. And I actually even set a separate alarm on my phone to remind me to get 250 steps that I check. And I feel like it has really helped me from becoming too sedentary, because I will, even now, I will find myself concentrating on something at work, and I sit still for a long time. And I think it has really helped me to make sure that I get up at least that much every hour.
Well, and if you are in a position where you can take classes and it's something that you want to do or something that you're considering doing, finding a gym that makes sense for you, finding one is it better that it is on the way to work or close to your house? Is it one that you can get in the morning or at night? What hours are important to you? What equipment is important to you? Do you prefer one that is maybe all female or has classes? There are so many ways to make it work for yourself. And if you were someone who is paying for a class or for a trainer or for a gym membership, you have the right to ask for help. You have the right to ask how to use equipment.
Yeah.
If you're going to a class and you've never done it before, and I would like to do this for Zumba. If you are thinking about taking a class, get there early. Tell the instructor that you've never done the class before. Ask for modifications. If you can't do the full set, it's okay to put in 20% so that you're not killing yourself. It's okay to leave a class early. There is no shame in doing what feels comfortable to you. Don't push too hard. Like I said, ask how to use equipment. I remember I took a yoga class and I didn't know, like, people were taking blocks and bands and blankets. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what these people are doing. It's okay to say, hey, is this something that is typically used? Which ones should I grab? What should I do?
And I know I'm the fun police a lot, but I think it's important, and maybe we don't say this enough, but not only to check with a health professional before you do these exercises to make sure you don't hurt yourself, but really make sure you understand the proper way to do an exercise or to use a machine or to lift a weight even, so that you're not hurting yourself. It's really easy to do exercises incorrectly. And even on a related level, like for years, I just fairly recently discovered that I was doing push-ups incorrectly. I was doing them in a way that I wasn't getting the maximum efficiency out of them. And I happened to see a video, which, was a real bummer, showing me that I was doing them the wrong way. And now I'm doing them, in air quotes, the right way. And they're helping me. I'm doing fewer of them, but I'm getting much better results with them.
Well, and to piggyback on that, I didn't realize how many modifications there were to push-ups. Yeah. I watched a video for free.
What?
That actually had, I thought there were either knee push-ups or toe push-ups. I thought that was the modification. And I watched a video that had 5 other modifications.
Nice.
Where you could, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that
so that's there were 7 modifications for the price of free?
Of none.
Wow.
But it is okay to modify. It is okay to take it slow. It is okay to ask for help. I took a Billy Blanks boxing class once with actual Billy Blanks.
Yeah.
And 500 other people. And I
get to be married to her, everyone.
And I threw my shoulder out because I didn't know what I was doing. And when Billy Blanks was walking around, I wanted him to know that I was, giving it my eye of the tiger all. and that is dangerous. It is dangerous to hyperextend and to lift with your back and to, act like you know what you're doing. There is no shame in asking for help and taking it slow and not pushing yourself too hard until you are ready to level up.
Yeah, and we have another episode called Public Enemy, Fear of a Roger Planet, which is episode 28. In which we take a deep dive. We had I guess he was a personal trainer or something who, we were talking about doing things with walking. And he basically said that if you aren't trying to, if you're not able to lift a refrigerator off of somebody in an emergency, literally said
that.
If you can't lift a refrigerator off of somebody in an emergency or run a mile to get their medicine, then there's really no point in doing your exercise.
Your body has to be of service to the world. And
yeah, this is what we're fighting against. my dreams of becoming an underwear model were dashed many years ago. Like, I am not doing this exercise to be, to get my picture taken for a magazine. Like, I'm doing this for my life, for my health, to feel better, to live longer, and really, but more to the point, improve the quality of my life. Like, 3 years ago, the idea of taking that walk across the lot instead of getting in that golf cart would have been staggeringly overwhelming to me. I just wouldn't have wanted to do it. And now I smugly do it and feel better about myself.
I don't know how much smugness we should be talking about, because you sound pretty smug talking about it even now. I feel a little judged.
Fueled by smugness.
You need a smug check.
Smug check.
Going back to the beginning, and literally we had a trainer tell us that it wasn't enough, and that, we were bragging, I guess, saying, hey, we lost 100 pounds and we didn't need a gym or a class or whatever to get it done. And he was shaming us for not doing it the right way.
Oh, I'd say shaming.
Definitely shaming. And his name literally was Roger.
It was Roger.
It was Roger. And Roger had never had a weight issue. And for the people listening to this, and if you have lasted this long, we are historically sedentary people who have figured out a way to add movement into our lives, to walk to Rite Aid, to zigzag up and down aisles, to go for short hikes that are within our scope. Wow, you're getting jazzed up.
I'm getting fired up.
To walk to go to breakfast, to meet friends instead of driving.
Yeah, we did a 6-mile walk this morning, and we are people who struggled to walk from the, couch to the kitchen 3 years ago.
To sneak in activity. When I do take an elevator now, I do free arm exercises in the elevator. If no one else is in the elevator, I don't want to punch anybody in the face while I'm doing them. But finding...
Some lady punch me, mommy.
Finding ways to add purposeful movement into your day that makes sense for the season of your life that you're in. If you are someone who's just had a baby, you can't leave the house, finding ways at home to do a fun fitness Marshall video for 3 minutes is enough. To walk up and down a flight of stairs instead of taking, like you go to a museum, instead of taking the accessible ramp, go up 5 steps.
Yeah.
Like, if that's all you can do, amazing. Starting where you are and adding movement into your day is critical, and it has changed our lives. And leveling up as you can. And going back to that beginning, what are you dreading right now in your life? What are you avoiding? Are you avoiding going on vacation with more active people because you're afraid you can't keep up? Are you avoiding coworkers going out to lunch because you don't want to have to walk to, the 3 blocks to the restaurant? How can you take back your life and take back your time and your energy to make your life better in small ways? We're not lifting refrigerators off of people. We're not running 10Ks. We're just people now who can walk upstairs.
Yeah.
Who can wear sleeveless or feel comfortable wearing sleeveless shirts because our arms are more toned.
Especially me.
Especially him. Figuring out ways to make your actual real life better. You don't have to run a Tough Mudder. You don't have to,
that sounds horrifying.
Flip giant tractor tires over at a CrossFit gym if you're not into that. If you are, amazing.
Yeah.
But making your life better comes with your mental state. It comes with the kind of food that you eat, and it comes with the kind of movement that you get. And we are moving to celebrate how old we are and what we are capable of, and getting up off the ground and being able to go to the trampoline park and jump around without, breaking our hips or being out of breath. And we're living better lives now in our 40s than we were in our 30s when we were out of breath.
And soon I will be living a better life in my 50s than I was in my 30s. And that is a pretty fantastic way to wrap up the show. And I'm going to ruin it by mentioning one more thing.
Oh, boy.
I wanted to touch on episode 55 of our show, which was leveling up. And I have something which I've just decided to call the Goldilocks rule, which probably somebody else has already taken. But I would say don't make your fitness goals too hard or too easy. when you find yourself hitting your goals and they become too easy, then try and take it up a notch. But also make sure that you don't make it too hard for yourself. And when you find yourself hitting your goal and it's just automatic, try and make it more difficult. But also don't make it so difficult that you can't hit it all of the time. I have settled on 20,000 steps a day because I can't hit it every day, and it's not automatic. But I am pushed to try and get there, and I do hit it more days than I don't. And I feel like that's sort of the sweet spot for me. But the sweet spot for you might be 3,000 steps or 4,000 or whatever it is. But find that spot that pushes you to get more than you're doing now, but not don't set it so hard that you get discouraged.
Well, and I too, when I did get my Fitbit, I started just walking our daughter to school 10 minutes. And then walking home. I didn't start with the lofty goal that I have now of 17,000 steps. And just take it as you go. If all you can do is half of one modified push-up, start there until you get to one full push-up. It is okay to go at your own pace consistently and not burn yourself out. I never thought I would be in the shape that I am today 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And It feels so good to know that it is possible to change your life in slow, sustainable ways at any age. And you don't have to look to fitness professionals or, celebrity trainers to, for the perfect body. We are talking about heart health. We are talking about mobility. We are talking about, less pressure on our joints as we're aging. That is not sexy and exciting.
No.
But it is practical and real, and it is changing our lives, and it can change your life too.
I love that. And if a couple of couch potatoes like us can do it, then anybody can. Trust me. I know you can.
I was trying to come up with some funny way to talk about tuber enthusiastic couch sitters. I love wordplay, and it fell on its mashed potato face.
I like it. Tuber enthusiastic couch sitters. That's all good. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for listening.
We really appreciate it. This concludes our 3-part series on getting started. We hope you found something meaningful for it. If you'd like to listen to other episodes of the show that we mentioned, or all of them, you can find us at wherever you find podcasts or at weonlylookthin.com.
Yeah, and we are on Facebook at We Only Look Thin and Instagram at We Only Look Thin.
And we are on, what did you say? Twitter. Yes. You said Facebook and Instagram. We're also on Twitter. And I've taken to tweeting more often these days. And you can also, if you want to do us a favor, you can, if you got something out of this, leave us a review on iTunes. As we're recording this right now, we have 199 reviews on iTunes. You could be the 200th reviewer if you act now.
Act now.
And guess what? The 217th reviewer is even cooler. So why don't you try and do that?
Nobody talks about the 217th reviewer.
No.
But really, all the emails that we get and the Facebook
Oh,
posts,
yeah, you can email us. weonlylookthin@gmail.com, and we do respond.
Yeah, and thank you, everyone, so much. Every single 5-star review that we get, every post on Instagram that we get, every reply we get, every iTunes review, it means the world to us. Every email, that we are being a part of your life wherever you are, whatever stage in your journey, it means everything to us. And that we are playing a part in helping not only ourselves inspire ourselves, but helping you out there. It means seriously everything. So thank you so much for taking the time to reach out to us and tell us how we're affecting you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And if you've listened to these last 3 episodes that have been a bit longer, we really appreciate you hanging in there with us. We promise we'll be back to our regular length episodes. Is that a way to
a regular length?
Regular length episodes pretty soon. But until then, the next time you're trying to decide between getting in the elevator or taking the stairs, just remember that Catherine and I are an inspiration. The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.